Hello there. So you're thinking about renting a property in India? Imagine finding that perfect place close to your work or college within a budget and with all the amenities you need. Well, it sounds great, right? But before you sign that lease, there are few things you should know to avoid any unpleasant surprises. Whether you're a student, a working professional, or just someone curious about how rental law works in India, stick with me for the next few minutes and I'll walk you through everything you need to know in a simple and engaging way. Hello, this is Jerry and welcome to my channel where I explain the law in a simple and easy to understand way. Before we get to know in depth about this topic, let's discuss what are the key takeaways. First, we'll learn about what is a rental agreement. Second, what are the legal provisions and acts in support of the tenant and landlord. Third, discussion about a few case laws and judicial commentaries. Fourth, is a discussion about rights and duties of a tenant. Fifth, a few pointers for tenants. Sixth, a few fun facts and commentaries that I have collected across the internet. Seventh, are a few tips for tenants. And finally, a recap. So this is what you're going to learn by watching this video. So let's move on to the video. First, what is a rental agreement? First off, let's get the basics down. When you rent a property, you're entering into a legal agreement with the landlord. This agreement is called a rental or lease agreement. It's a document that outlines the terms and conditions of your stay. Now, the key elements of a rental agreement. First is the rent amount. How much you'll pay each month. Make sure the amount is clearly stated in the agreement. 2. The duration. How long you'll be renting this place. Typically, rental agreements are for 11 months to avoid registration requirements. But they can be for a longer period too. 3. Security deposit. An amount you pay upfront which is refundable at the end of the tenancy, assuming no major damages. This amount usually varies between each state, but it ranges between 2 months and 10 months. 4. Notice period. How much notice or the landlord needs to give before ending the tenancy. This usually is 1 to 3 months. A well-drafted rental agreement can save you a lot of trouble down the line. Always ensure you read and understand all the clauses before signing. Second, what are the legal provisions and acts? In India, the rental laws are primarily governed by Rent Control Act, which varies from state to state. The Transfer of Property Act of 1882 and the Indian Contract Act of 1872. These laws ensure both the landlord and tenant are protected and their rights are upheld. So let's see what is Rent Control Act. This act is designed to protect tenants from unfair eviction and overcharging by landlords. However, it's important to note that not all properties fall under this act, especially newly constructed buildings. The Rent Control Act has been criticized for being outdated, but it still offers significant protection for tenants in properties that fall under its purview. Each state has its version of the Rent Control Act. For example, Karnataka has the Karnataka Rent Act of 1999, which regulates rent prices and provides guidelines for eviction. Let's move to the next act, that is Transfer of Property Act 1882. Let's call it in short as TP Act. This act deals with the lease of immovable properties. According to section 105 of the TP Act, a lease is a transfer of the right to enjoy the property for a certain time in exchange for consideration, that is rent. This act ensures that the lease terms are clear and that both parties understand their rights and obligations. Let's move to the third act, which is the Indian Contract Act of 1872. The Indian Contract Act governs the general principles of contracts. A rental agreement is essentially a contract between the landlord and tenant. This act ensures that the agreement is legally binding and is enforceable in court. Third, let's discuss some case laws and judicial commentary. Legal cases often help clarify how laws are interpreted and applied. Here are a few interesting ones. First case is Anthony versus Casey Itu and Sons in the year 2000. In this case, the Supreme Court said the court emphasized the importance of a written rental agreement to avoid disputes. It highlighted that a written agreement provides clarity and a reference point for both parties, thereby reducing the likelihood of misunderstanding and legal conflicts. Second, DC Bhatia versus Union of India. This case, in 1995, the Delhi High Court ruled that the landlords could not increase rent arbitrarily and had to follow the Rent Control Act guidelines. This case highlighted the importance of regulation to protect tenants. Third, Natraj Studios Private Limited versus Navram Studios. In 1981, the Supreme Court case is a landmark decision regarding the tenancy rights, where the court ruled in favor of protecting tenants from arbitrary eviction and emphasized the need for clear contractual terms to avoid disputes. The case underscored the significance of the Rent Control Act in safeguarding tenant rights. There is always a judicial commentary which often includes some fascinating observations. For instance, in the case of Anthony versus Casey Itu and Sons case, the judge remarked on the absurdity of relying on verbal agreements in today's world. The court passed a comment that is sending a message through a pigeon in the age of smartphones. Fourth, let's discuss the rights and duties of tenants. As a tenant, you have certain rights and responsibilities. Knowing these can save you a lot of money. Firstly, let's discuss the rights of a tenant. First, right to a habitable home. The landlord must ensure that the property is safe and livable. This includes proper maintenance of basic amenities like water, electricity and sanitation. 2. Right to privacy. The landlord cannot enter the property without prior notice or agreement. Typically, a 24-hour notice is considered reasonable. 3. Right to non-discrimination. You cannot be denied a rental property based on religion, caste, gender, etc. The Constitution of India ensures non-discrimination in all public dealings, including renting a property. Secondly, let's discuss the duties of a tenant. Pay your rent on time. This one's obvious but crucial. Timely payments of rent helps maintain a good relationship with the landlord. 2. Take care of your property. You're responsible for any damage caused during your stay. This doesn't include normal wear and tear, but significant damages should be repaired or compensated for. 3. Adhere to the terms of the agreement. This includes everything from duration of stay to the notice period for vacating. Breaching these terms can lead to legal issues. 5th, what are the things to be aware for a tenant? When you are about to rent a property, here are a few red flags to watch out. 1. Unusually high security deposit. While a deposit is normal, it shouldn't be exorbitant. Typically, it's between 2 to 10 months rent. Anything significantly higher could be a red flag. 2. Lack of written agreement. Always insist on a written contract. Verbal agreements can lead to disputes and are difficult to enforce legally. 3. Unclear terms. Make sure all terms, especially related to maintenance, repairs and utility payments, are clearly defined in the agreement. Any ambiguity can lead to disputes later on. 6th are some fun facts and commentaries that I have collected. Did you know that in Mumbai, the law states that landlords can't charge rent beyond the standard rent unless it is approved by the Rent Control Act. This often leads to a quirky situation where people live in prime locations for rents as low as Rs 50. But this has to be verified. In one memorable case, a judge in the Delhi High Court humorously commented on the often adversarial nature of landlord-tenant relationship, saying the tenant and the landlord relationship is like a marriage. Both need mutual respect and a clear understanding. Otherwise, it can end up in a messy divorce. Such light-hearted observation help us remember that while laws and regulations are serious, the everyday interaction they govern are very much a part of human relationships. 7th are the final tips for a tenant. First, visit the property multiple times. Visit at different times of the day to get a real feel of that place. This will help you notice any potential issues like noise or traffic that might not be evident during a single visit. Second, talk to the neighbors. They can give you insights about the landlord and the locality. They might tell you things that the landlord wouldn't, like frequent power cuts or water issues. Third, check the credentials. Verify the landlord's ownership documents to ensure that you're dealing with the rightful owner. This can help you avoid any potential scams. Finally, renting a property in India involves a mix of excitement and due diligence. By understanding the legal framework, knowing your rights, and being aware of common pitfalls, you can make the process smooth and hassle-free. Remember, a good rental experience starts with a solid agreement and a clear communication. So, whether you're moving into a new city for studies, starting a new job, or just looking for a change, keep these points in mind. Please do hit the like button so that it will help encourage me to create more videos on interesting topics. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for insightful legal updates. Feel free to ask if you have any questions or need further clarification on any point. Good luck with getting a new home, and happy renting. Bye bye.